Hey guys, Marstingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so tomorrow, alongside the release of Tech Pan banner and obviously like the Dokkan event, we are getting a new stage for Extreme Super Battle Road, finally. Stage 33, the Time Travelers stage. So this one is releasing on global. Stage 33, we're building towards, from these stages, the medals to Easy A, the Tech, Goku and Gohan, I think. I actually can't remember what the rewards are for this one, but it's the only downside to them releasing these stages separately now rather than all 10 in a row, is obviously only getting the rewards piece by piece. But I would say that is the only downside. I do prefer this method rather than waiting like 6 months to get 10 stages. So stage 33, it feels like ages since we got the Wicked Bloodline one, but Time Travelers, this one is going to be a very, very interesting one. So we are going to go through the team building guide. As always with these guides, I'm going to go through some of the top picks and then honorable mentions. This one is quite a lot bigger. The category is not necessarily huge, but there are a lot of units on this list that are very good, depending on the team build that you're going to run and depending on the leaders that you have available to use. So normally I bring up tabs for like every single unit, right, like all the top picks, a few honorable mentions, and then we look at the list afterwards to go over any units that we missed. But we're going to do a lot more of just kind of looking at the list and going over some of the units, because there are so many to go through depending on which particular team build that you want to run. So as always with these guides, let me know down below if there's any units you think I should have mentioned or that I should have talked more about. Let me know in the comments section, and if you do find the guide helpful at all, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. So obviously the main Dokkan Fest leader for Time Travelers is the STR Bojack. He does only have a 150% leader skill though, as opposed to 170, 3 key. He does support Space Traveling Warriors, so obviously any crossover with that category, he is going to function as a support unit, as well as the fact that he raises attack and defense on super. So his defense can be pretty good after he's gotten a super attack off. He does have big bad bosses, Thirst for Conquest. He has some pretty good links. Obviously, has a few of these links that are only really designed to be linked up with other Bojack units. But of course, he does have the LR as a potential partner, so that rotation can be very good. So obviously, by running the actual just full-on Time Travelers lead, that does give you the most room for creativity when it comes to building the team, right? Because you can literally bring any Time Travelers unit and you're not restricted by them having to be in other categories. The other Time Travelers leader is, of course, the LR, Trunks and Mai. However, on global, we, of course, do not have their Easy A yet. So that means they are a lead for 130% and 4 key. And they are, of course, not as good as their Easy A version. Shocking, I know. But the problem that they have is, obviously on this team, they've got full Time Travelers allies. So they are going to have their full attack and defense passive. However, they only get the 6 key and high chance to evade when there is a Future Saga category enemy. So if we take a look at the lists, as you can see, none of the fights have a Future Saga category enemy. So they will not have that built-in dodge, which is honestly one of the best tools in their kit for Super Battle Road. Now, they're not completely useless without it, of course, but they don't raise defense on Super. So especially if you're going for like a no-item run, they are very vulnerable against enemies where they cannot dodge. However, they do have a medium chance to stun on their 12 key and a high chance to stun on their 18 key. So they can be useful on the team for stunning if nothing else, right? You could run them as a third slot unit or essentially just try and keep them hidden from attacks as much as possible and go for the stuns. Because I know for some people, they may be your only resort to use as a leader. So you will still be able to use them, but you definitely are going to have to keep them protected. Like I said, I probably wouldn't use them on a no-item attempt pre-Easy A. But of course, if you have to use them as a leader, they are a Time Travelers lead as well. Now we get on to the ones that are a little bit more restrictive, but definitely going to be more effective. So the first one, and I know a lot of people have already expressed interest in just running this team, is of course the Agl Cell. Most of the cells from, in fact, I think all of the cells from the Android/Cell Saga are in Time Travelers, which, I mean, I guess they would be, right? So Android/Cell Saga or Power Absorption, I think the only Power Absorption Time Traveler that isn't a cell is Mira, who's probably not very good. But you could easily use this guy to run a full Cell team. He's very good for Super Battle Road because obviously in most other events where you're fighting one enemy, he's a lot weaker in his first form and obviously gets better as he goes up throughout his forms. But for Super Battle Road, when you're facing multiple enemies, he's actually very, very good from the first phase. Has built-in dodge, built-in crit. It's very, very good unit for Super Battle Road. Obviously his one weakness is he's not a great slot 1 unit, but you could get lucky with the dodges. And he's a unit that is able to put out a lot of damage. He has returned as well on Global. He was just on the Worldwide Download Celebration banners. So hopefully, if you did not have him before, you at least managed to pick up a copy either by summoning or with red coins. I did have a few people ask me during the Worldwide Celebration, and I do think Cell was worth picking up with red coins if you didn't have him, because his 200% team is definitely very, very good. So the other option, of course, you have, which I mentioned on Twitter earlier today. I know a lot of you out there watching me won't be surprised by this because we talk about them all the time. And I know a lot of you are on board with the agenda, and that is, of course, the Heroes team. So almost every single Dragon Ball Heroes unit, I think there's only 2, maybe 3, that are not time travelers. All of the rest of them are. So obviously you are able to run a full Dragon Ball Heroes team. It's a bit of a shame that this stage is coming out like a month before the celebration, where the team's obviously going to get a load of buffs. But I did use the Heroes team to no item, the normal SPR version of Time Travelers. I love this team. I know a bunch of you out there, especially some of the guys on my friends list, still have God Trunks set as their friend. So this team is going to be very good. God Trunks, of course, while he's not a slot 1 unit, on the Heroes team is where he's designed to be. He's very powerful. He does seal as well, which of course is very useful for Super Battle Road. He has the 170 lead with 4 key as well. And then, of course, there is the Int Pan, who has the crossover leader skill. Now, there are a few other crossover units that are on Time Travelers, so you could run her. There's also the SS4 Vegito, who has a 170 lead for crossover, so you could have a little bit of the extra crossover units in there. I mean, Pan is a must-run on the team, even if you are running Trunks as the lead. She has a 50% chance to stun on Super. She has built-in dodge. Every time she dodges, she gets more defense, and she does buff Dragon Ball Heroes allies as well. So she's pretty much a must-run unit on the team. So the 3 builds I would recommend is either crossover / Dragon Ball Heroes, the Cell team, or if you have to run just straight up Time Travelers. Bojack obviously has the better leader skill and probably better defense overall, but Trunks and Mai can be very, very good in the event as well. So if we go back to the Time Travelers list, this is where it's going to kind of differ from the previous guides. We're just going to look at this and very quickly go over these like honorable mentions, right? So like Agl Trunks, very good for Super Battle Road, has those extra buffs against multiple enemies. Unfortunately, Global does not have Trunks and Vegeta. Prime Battle Cell, probably one of the weaker cells, but of course if you want to run the full Cell team, he can be useful on there. He does heal with the 12 key super. Physical Cell is definitely a top pick. Like if you're running either the Cell team or just Time Travelers in general, Physical Cell with his Easy A is obviously going to be very, very good. He has the AoE, which heals you, hits all the enemies. His defense is pretty good after supering, so he is definitely a top pick for the team, even if you are just running like Bojack or Trunks and Mai as the leader. And then the Physical LR Trunks is also going to be very good for dealing damage with that built-in crit chance. His defense after supering is pretty good, so he's a unit that can work very well as a 3rd slot floating unit. So then as we go down into the TURs, some of the top picks for Heroes units, if you want to run the Heroes build, we have the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, who as long as you get the guard, you know, we all hate chance to guard units, but as long as he gets the guard, he's really, really good defensively. As he takes hits, he builds up his attack as well, and he can actually hit some very high attack stats when he gets to his passive being fully maxed out. So he is a very strong unit, very, very good. We have units like Mechikabra, Dabura, Mira. Dabura has dodge and a bunch of other stuff when you're fighting multiple enemies, so he's actually very, very good. Some of the demon characters have a bit of, you know, wonky link set when compared to running some of the other like Saiyan units, especially the units that lead the team. But Dabura can be very, very good. Mechikabra is still a crazy good unit. I think his best link partner, which is the physical demon Demigra, should be easy Aing this year. and then people are really going to see how crazy good Meki Kabura is. So he's worth running on a heroes team. He hits very high numbers, good defense, he can seal as well, so he's very, very powerful. Definitely a top unit. This Tech World Tournament Cell, if you have him, is really, really good for supporting the Cell team. He raises defense on super and can get multiple, he has a built-in additional in his passive if you're fighting multiple enemies, so he's obviously very, very good as well. As we move down to Int, we obviously talked about Pan. We've got the Xeno Vegeta, who lowers attack on super and supports Vegeta family, so obviously he'll support the God Trunks. And then the counterpart to him, the physical Xeno Super Saiyan Goku, he supports Goku family, which there's not as many of in terms of the most useful units, but he can stun, so he's a very, very good unit on the team as well. We did briefly mention Super Saiyan 4 Vegito as a leader potential. He does support crossover, so he can be good on the team, as well as having the chance to counter super attacks. He is starting to age a little bit now in terms of the current difficulty level, so it depends. Some of the recent ESBR stages have been hitting quite hard, so even after supering, he could start to take a fair bit of damage, but he's obviously very good. This Str Trunks, I think, is a really good unit to mention as well. He supports hybrids, so depending on how you're building your team, he could be very useful for the support. But even without support, he can multiple super, he has a built-in additional in his passive, he can stun, he raises defense with each super attack, so obviously on the turns where you do get like the triple super, his defense is looking really, really good, so he is a very solid unit. I think the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku could still be quite good. He's going to Easy A in November and potentially be one of the best Easy A TURs, especially defensively. At the moment, he's aged a little bit, but on a full Heroes team, he does have like very high damage reduction and guard, and he can stun, so he could be very useful. The STR Second Form Cell is a great support unit for the Cell team. He's very strong defensively after supering, as well as providing that 40% buff. And then the STR Cell, he's a bit more outdated, the Perfect Cell, but he does have, if you're able to get the 11 key with him, he does have an AoE super attack, so he can be pretty good for Super Battle Road as well. Dark Mask King, guards, heals, lowers attack, very good. So you can kind of see there are a lot of units that are very solid picks, but only for their certain teams. Like Dark Mask King has to be run with the Heroes ally, so obviously he's much, much better on the Heroes team. If you're just running Bojack or Trunks and Mai and you want to bring this guy, you have to make sure you bring another Heroes unit as well. Otherwise, he's not going to be getting his full potential and actually just generally not going to be that great, right, without a Heroes unit. And I forgot to mention, we did mention LR Bojack previously. If you're running STR Bojack, it's pretty much a no-brainer that you should bring this guy and run them together. So there you go. As I said, there are a lot of units on this category that are very good, but it all depends on what leader you're going to run. And then obviously the team kind of falls into place. Like if you're running Cell, you're obviously running basically a full Cell team, which will be very effective. If you're running Heroes, depending on, you know, whether you've summoned on every Hero celebration, maybe last year was the first time you summoned, you're not going to necessarily have the craziest team, but a lot of these units, as long as they don't require other Heroes allies, will work really, really well on some of the teams. So Time Travelers definitely has a lot of solid options. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Like I said at the beginning, if there's any units you think I missed out that we should have talked about, let us know down below, and let me know what your team build is going to look like for this Super Battle Road stage. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.